So, hey, we're going to call to order, and this is always done for the benefit of the taped recordings. So let's let's begin. I'm going to put down that Donna is here. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm standing across the menu here. I see Jerry Lee.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Who's next? Phil or Stephen?
This is Phil. I'm here.
Okay, Phil's here. Great.
Stephen, it's not a tape.
Okay. And I guess that Mario isn't here yet. I don't know if he'll sign on or not. So I'll put down Mario. No, not Mario. Okay, Mario is absent. Okay, thank you, everybody. Let's go ahead and approve the agenda, the draft agenda. Are there any changes before we begin to the agenda? Nope. Okay, nobody is saying anything. So for the record, there are no changes. Are you all in favor? If I hear everybody say yes, that'd be great.
Yes.
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 Is there anybody not in favor? If I hear no, then we just go silent and nobody abstaining. Okay, nobody. All right, so unanimous approval of the agenda as it is. Thank you. And I'm sorry, Barbara, I usually say the time, so I'll say it right now. It's 7:40 on my computer.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we go to approval of minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes?
None.
Okay, that's great. So if I don't hear
None.
any other nones, I see Jerry Lee saying no.
None.
Okay,
No.
Nothing for me.
no to Phil, no Stephen. Okay. So all in favor, just say yes.
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 Right, and no abstention. All crickets. Okay. So minutes are approved as is. Thank you, everybody. Unanimously approved, I should say. Okay, are there any 7:41? Are there any presentations by residents?
So this is Phil. Just two quick announcements. Santa is coming to town for a little quick town tour Saturday afternoon between 3 and 5. So keep an eye out.
Saturday, is that the,
This
what day?
Saturday. This
18th?
Yep.
Okay, December 18th from 3 to 5. Wonderful.
And
And
then-
you think, what's the next one?
Sorry, and then a week from tomorrow at 7 p.m. will be touring of the caroling group. So it'll be caroling beginning a week from tomorrow at 7.
Okay, is that
Send
is
an
that the 20th?
21st.
21st. And
Okay, the 18th is a Saturday,
for Santa.
right? And then you said a week from today?
No, it's a week from tomorrow.
Oh, my apologies. That's what I missed. Okay, so that's December 21st. Whoever corrected me, that's great. That's caroling. What else is happening?
Oh, those are the
Does the women's club have something going on?
they do, I should say. They have the annual decorating contest, which will be judged sometime next week.
I believe that is the 20th. Okay, yeah, I think, can't remember, Lillian Del Priori put the notice out. I don't remember the time, but she just said to get ready for Monday evening, the 20th, that there would be some elves going around
Yep.
looking at the houses, right?
The words finished decorating by Sunday night.
Oh, or Monday day.
I suppose, yes.
Yes, right. Okay, great. that concludes any other business presentation. Did I hear something? No. Okay. Let's see. Oh, new business. So I have the privilege and the honor to introduce our new town manager, who is an interim town manager during this period since Andrea has retired. And Andrea, her contract was ending this month in December, and had a fantastic job offer to go work for an executive tech firm that works with cities across the country. So she's taking a giant leap and working across the nation, which is one of the things she loves to do, is to work with all the big cities. So we're wishing her a lot of good luck on that. And in the brief few weeks we had Andrea, we had that were left with Andrea, Barbara was able to come on. She had a few days with Andrea to get a little bit of orientation. And she comes with an incredible amount of experience at the municipal level. And I really would like to just let her talk about herself and give you all and everybody listening a sense of who she is and what she stands for. So go for it, Barbara.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Kaki. And it's a pleasure to be with you all tonight. And I really want to thank the mayor and the town council for the opportunity to serve as the interim in Garrett Park. A little bit about myself. I'm a native of Virginia, did my undergraduate work at the University of Virginia, went out to the Midwest for my graduate work at Indiana University, and then took my first job out of graduate school with the city of Kansas City. I've worked in local government for about 35 years, and with about half that time spent in Missouri, kind of flip-flopping between communities in the Kansas City and the St. Louis area. And then, as I mentioned, I'm a native of Virginia, so is my husband. So back in 2004, we made the decision to move back east, and I accepted a position with the city of Tacoma Park. Went on from Tacoma Park to work for the city of Rockville. And then up until recently, I worked for the city of Westminster up in Carroll County. So it's been very nice the past couple of weeks to work with Mayor Kaki, and Andrea was just a tremendous help to me as well in terms of onboarding. And had the chance in the last 2 weeks to basically reconnect with some of my former Montgomery County colleagues. So once again, it's a pleasure to serve as your interim, and I will do everything possible to keep things running smoothly during the time that I'm in office. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Barbara.
Welcome, Barbara.
Yes, welcome, Barbara. Everybody. I would like to tell people that already Barbara has shown her expertise and her fantastic experience by being able to jump in and help on some of these town office management functions, one of them being the mid-year budget. She is phenomenal in budget, I have to say. I am incredibly gratified, Barbara, and you've already been a big help, so I appreciate it very much. Okay, speaking of, we are going to go right to that. The time is 7:47, and we're going to do our action item, and that's the adoption of the ordinance 2022 FY22 mid-year budget. And Barbara, would you like to take the lead on that? You're muted. I'm sorry. You're still there.
Thank you. The ordinance that is before you tonight does incorporate the changes that the town council requested at your November meeting. I did want to note that the ordinance has been modified to incorporate certain references to the establishment of an ARPA fund. You'll find those changes in the addition of 2 whereas clauses, as well as just the reference to the establishment of the ARPA fund in the now therefore be it ordained section. Certainly, I think if there's anything, Mayor Kaki, that you'd like to add, but I think that's a brief summary of kind of what you and I have worked on the past week or so.
Right, and this is, I'm hoping this was in keeping with what I thought, what Andrea, what we all thought was the understanding that council had wished that it remain a separate, separate kind of tracking. What we did was talk with Barb, you, I believe, were on that call with me with the auditors. Was that, were
Yes.
you there? Thanks. Can't remember about this. And so is Mary Rutke, who does our accounting. And it was recommended to us that we do keep this as a separate book, separate ledger, what we're planning to do. And you'll see this in the budget tables presented for adoption, is to maintain the same management account structure. That's the budget line items that you're familiar with under what we actually call the general fund by auditors' terms. Our general fund is the way we've been operating. So we have revenue and operations and capital and reserves, and that's all with general fund money. We're treating the ARPA as a separate fund entirely. So it's not part of the general fund. At the end of the day, at the end of the fiscal year, when we are audited for our books, which in this case is plural, will be audited for the general fund as well as the ARPA fund, but they'll also then be emerged where they are, and that's typical for the entity of the town of Garrett Park. So that's why it's written in the language of the ordinance. So before we go further with this, is there anybody with any questions about the budget tables, the mid-year adjustment budget tables?
So this is Phil. I do have a question.
Okay.
And it's, I guess more, I'm asking if maybe we could do a clarification, because if we look at the ARPA fund operations budget, which is one of the last sheets on this, it's sheet 6 of 6.
Okay, hold on, let me get there, okay?
Sure.
Okay, you said to look at the operations
Right.
of the ARPA fund. Yep, okay.
It's table B, ARPA fund operations budget,
Yes.
11.0, town administration, 30,000. I
Right.
assume that this is really for the consultant that we've talked about in the past. Is there
Yes.
a way of putting a note in there so it doesn't look like it's going to general town administration funds or something else, but it's just a note that that really is for this consultant we've already talked about?
Sure, sure, Phil. I don't think we need to do it for the approval, because that was actually in the introduction of the fund of the budget last month, that it was mentioned that the 30,000 was going to go towards the ARPA project manager shared among multiple municipalities, and we were going to take it against the ARPA funds. Why you're only seeing this high level, what we call the major budget line categories, you can see there are no subcategories. But once we start fleshing this out, and with Donna's assistance as the lead of the ARPA fund work group, we'll start having the sub budget line items, the sub budget categories. So this is just at the top level, which everything usually has sub line items anyway, and then they add up to that top level.
Right.
We didn't want to put in all the minutia at this point because it's too much. You know what I can do though? If that makes you feel better, let me go back. Let me look at something on the regular operations budget for where we thought we were going to put this. So now that we're talking about it, Phil and Barbara, let me see. I think we were going to put this at 11.4 under professional fees.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so what I'll do for this, if you don't mind, and I hope we can still adopt this with this modification, but it's really at the sub level. I mean, we're not, it rolls up to the top, but I'll put in, so you have it for next time, 11.4. We didn't want to get into all the details of every subcategory. That's why we left everything at the major, but this is for professional fees, and we know it was for the consultant under the ARPA.
Right, I just wanted to make sure that if somebody hadn't looked at that,
Mhm.
whatever, they wouldn't think that it was for general town administration or something else. It's that people would have an understanding what it's for, that's all.
Right, and I appreciate it, but let me just be sure let me repeat this for everybody's benefit again. These are major budget line item categories. We never put money just right there. We never do. We have all the subline categories, sub budget line item categories fill in, and they roll up to the major line. So if anybody like you, Phil, ask, well, what's that 30,000 really for? That's where, so I'm noting it for your benefit and everybody, it'll be under 11.4 professional fees, because that rolls up to 11.0.
Sure.
All right. Okay, great.
Excuse me, Mayor Kaki, just a quick question. Is there a standard operating procedure to include budget notes and such in town budgets?
I don't know what we've done in the past. We've certainly footnoted stuff. I don't know if Andrea has included it. We don't include it in the ordinance, I can tell you that. It's usually, you know what it is, now that I'm thinking through this, what Andrea has said before, is she goes through all the budget notes at the introduction. So she lists them, she goes through them to highlight the changes for council members. So it's recorded that way, but we don't put
Yeah.
anything in the ordinance that I don't think we have.
Usually she had
And
a
I've-
separate document. So,
Right, and I've never seen anything in past years ever with
Mhm.
budget notes.
That's
as
why I'm
far-
asking. I have seen
Right.
budgets with budget notes
Mhm.
at this level, and was just wondering if that would not perhaps
Mhm.
facilitate understanding in the future. Just a thought.
So what you might normally see, and I know this is, well, let me not just speak for what I think you know, but what I know is often, always, you see what's called the budget justification. And that's a narrative form of how the budget formulation.
Yes, I've seen that, and that's not what I'm speaking of.
Yeah,
It's
then you
usually
wouldn't
just,
see
as
the
you're
budget.
saying, just notes at the bottom of a budget itself.
Yeah, no. We may occasionally do a footnote. I haven't done one in a while.
Actually, you
can't-
got one on,
Do we have one?
yeah, 32.
Yeah. Is it on
Sheet. it's
general
sheet
funds
Yeah.
revenue?
Yes.
This does not equal operations line due to October 1 vendor contract start date and the timeline for end of fiscal year and levy year. And this is referring to, one aspect is to the municipal refuse collection, right? And then the other one, oh yeah. And then we don't even have, yeah, total revenues includes receipt carryover. Guess that's not really what I was thinking, but yeah, you're right. Those are them.
That is actually what I was thinking.
Well,
Sorry, I should have just looked at the budget myself. My apologies.
sheet 4 at the bottom of the page, you'll see where it says in FY22 line 32.6.
So I'm not, where are we? Hold, oh yeah, I see that one. 3 other refers to consultant. Line 32.6. Oh, that's capital planning. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I remember when we talked about that. Everybody wanted to know, well, what does other really refer to under capital planning? So that's been in there. Sorry, you're right, Phil. Thanks. Okay.
Are we proposing to add a note or just leave it with the change
I-
to professional services?
I think I'd like to just add 11.4 professional fees under town admin and put in the 30,000. I don't think this warrants a footnote because what's going to happen, Jerry Lee, and you can imagine this, is once Donna's got her task force going, her work group, and there's all, hopefully we're spending the SARPA money, we're going to get into a lot more of the weeds and it'll be displayed on these sub line items. And I don't want to have to footnote everything.
Sure. I had another proposal for some minor adjustments after looking at things more closely. I think it would make sense if we aligned the revenue projections for real property taxes and local income taxes to the actuals from FY21. So that would give us almost a $90,000 increase in revenue. And then we could put that into the town hall capital project line. And then also I
Wait,
noticed
wait,
that-
wait, wait a
Okay,
minute.
one thing at a time. I had a second one after that.
Okay, hold your thought. Let me just see and let everybody catch up to you.
Yeah, so real property taxes, we're currently showing our projection at about 82, $8,000 less than actual from 21. And then local income taxes is showing about $82,000 or 81 and change less than FY21 actual. And it just doesn't seem likely that we're going to have less than we had in the previous year. So it seems to me that we ought to keep that consistent and go ahead and put some additional planned spending in our town hall priority bucket under capital.
Which
Now, are
lines
you
are they?
referring? Yeah, are you
So
referring
that's
also?
line 2.1.1, real
Mhm.
property taxes, and then local income taxes is 2.2. So I'm just proposing we adjust the proposed to what the end of year actual was in 21.
So let me give you a little bit, I welcome that thought. And I think we can do a much better job with FY23. And I'm not saying not right now, but I want to give you a couple things to think about. And I have to actually go reference, you want to look at where we are in the November report financial under the manager's report to see where we are current for matching. And that'll help me also and help probably everybody. Let's just see where we are with the local property tax to date. Okay, so we're ahead following your lead here, Jerry Lee. So at the November monthly financial report, real property tax 2.11. We are at actuals right now at 326 compared to year to date last year, which was 309. So we're ahead. That makes me feel good. That gives me confidence, right? And look at your local income tax. We're at 191, but we're low. That's low compared to where we were in November of last year. So I'm not sure about moving that money. I mean, increasing that. Now, here's the other point I want to make. I talked to the auditors about this because I said, seems like, well, we're flush with cash, right? We had a healthy, very healthy. Is somebody not muted? I'm hearing somebody. Anyway, we had a healthy end of year carryover, of total of 480, right? And they said all the municipalities in Maryland surprisingly did really well. They're all flush with cash. And I said, okay. And they talked about the COVID. They talked about income being low, property taxes going up. But they also said, I asked them about, it seems, are we high or low to our projections? We've always maintained being somewhat conservative, but I know we've been kind of getting further and further away. And, some residents have expressed concern, and I get that. And they said, your end of year actuals from your projection was only 18% difference. And they said, that's fine. In fact, you certainly don't want to be over projecting, which we've heard forever. We know that is the golden rule. So being that far apart doesn't concern me, except when I look at this actual for November for property taxes. Jerry Lee, I can concur if everybody else wants to. I could see us moving that. Now, here's a third point. And I guess you did make it. You made the recommendation that if we increase our revenue, which is what you'd be doing by adjusting that number for local taxes, because I don't think I want to adjust the income tax since we're low this month compared to a year ago. But I'm willing to increase the property tax. But you're saying in order to get to net zero, because that's what we do, that's what your council does. We budget to a net zero when we make these adjustments and when we do a fiscal year, first time fiscal year budget, right? We budget to net zero. So you were saying where to put that remaining money, the additional increment over to Capitol Town Hall, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's what I'm proposing.
All right, so let me go look here. So we were down on the,
Can I ask a question?
yeah, sure.
What's the reason for projecting those two categories to be less than last year? Is it that you're expecting the property tax base to go down, or the property or the income taxes to go down, or you expect it's going to be difficult to actually get the money that we should be getting? I mean, is it a delivery issue, or as a like a taxable income sort of issue? 'Cause I haven't seen anything that gives me the thought that property taxes are going to go down this year versus last, or income tax is going to go down that noticeably. I mean, it's a pretty big number that would go down. So I'm curious if it's a matter of, is Garrett Park not going to get its share that is the concern, or is that there would be a lesser number is the concern?
Well, Stephen, we adopted this in May, and you guys were part of that process. So that number of 568 for the real property was advised by our town manager. I didn't do any more analysis than what we've had. I mean, I think we basically said we were kind of staying the same, but we weren't sure with COVID, with what the property values were going to be back at that time. This is based on this was based in May. So now I think Jerry Lee's got a good point. Why not? Given that we're already ahead this month, well, in the month of November, our actuals are already rising faster than they were a year ago at this time. I'm willing to make an adjustment. And if, we want to go just to the 576, and that's just 8,000 more, or we can go, probably you can go even a little higher, because everything I'm hearing is that our property values are still going up. Now, one of the concerns and one of the things to think about, but that will only take effect next fall.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest going over the 21 actual.
So you want to just stick with the 576?
That's what I'm proposing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would agree. There's nothing really out there that really indicates we're going to have a decrease year to year.
No, I know, but our November is 20, I think I said it was 26,000. Let me look at it. What
Yeah,
was
it's
it?
actually ahead right now,
Yeah, by
that category.
what was it? It was, let me look at the revenue again.
The November actuals are at 325 and last year's were at 309.
Right. So we could, in my mind, you could actually go higher than the 576. Was the end of year actual. You could actually pump it up if you wanted to go more. So. I mean, you could, instead of going, what did we say the difference here was?
It's about 8,000 right now, the difference.
You could double it. And then you'd be sort of on pace with what we were last year. I do have a feeling we'll be even higher. We've had a lot of young families move in.
Donna or
year.
Phil, do either of you have any thoughts about this concept? It would go into line 27.2 in the capital budget for town hall facilities, I think was the line item.
And are we talking 8,000 just to match, or you want to go up, double it? And that way you have a justification just to say that we want to stay on pace with what our actuals are right now compared to last year and our actuals. So I'm not talking about end of year actuals. I'm talking about this month, November's actuals this right now compared to a year ago. We are what did I say? 16,000 ahead.
Mhm. Phil, Donna, do you guys have an opinion on that?
So I'm fine with that. I might suggest maybe that we consider putting some of it into contingency if we think that there's any chance that we won't make those numbers. Otherwise, I would think that maybe we round it to even 15,000 and go at it that way.
I was actually going to propose we take some of the excess out of contingency because we pumped up the contingency last
sure
year,
did.
but for the estimated carryover, and I hadn't noticed before that we never then moved that out. And so I was going to suggest we take that out of contingency and put that in town hall as well. That was my second item.
Doesn't
Good
necessarily
point.
have to be town hall, but I feel like it's just important just to try to get, unless we have a real reason to think that revenues are going to decrease, don't show them decrease, and then start pumping up our capital fund in general, so we have healthier numbers to kind of plan around.
Yeah, I just
don't
want us to be
understand
able, exactly.
I don't understand the upside for us of having 90,000. That's probably phantom in the revenues.
So let's just stick to the proposal that Jerry Lee is asking about, which is the local property tax revenue. If we want to go 8,000 to match just the end of year of 21, or if we want to stay on pace with where we are, we would bump it up to 16,000. Second point, do we put it in some of that in town hall? Remember, Jerry Lee, we put $207,000 as council's proposed incremental change to the town hall capital budget. And you're saying let's just put more of it there. Or what I'm not, we do have 57 in contingency on capital, but I'm agreeing. I think the 109,000 for contingency under general fund operations is really high. So I don't really know if we need to put more in there, although Phil, you were thinking that way, I guess. So before anybody else speaks, hold your thoughts. I want to hear from the town manager. Barb, do you have any advice or input at this point in time, at this juncture?
Sure. I think in answer to, I guess, Steve's inquiry, I'm just guessing kind of what Andrea's thoughts were, but I know a lot of municipalities, when they were preparing their budgets last year, had concerns, I guess, on two fronts. One was whether you'd see a higher delinquency rate in payment of property taxes because folks weren't working. So that might have been part of the consideration of lowering it. That's candidly the only thing I can think of because the town has gone through reassessment, and undoubtedly the property values went up. So you'd see that phase in over 3 years. So the only, I guess, thought I had is that perhaps they were factoring in some type of delinquencies. In terms of income taxes, it's just notoriously hard to project. As you all may or may not know, we should get another payment in January, but one of the payments for income taxes actually for fiscal year 2022 will actually not come in until August. So it is probably the most difficult revenue source, I think, that any town manager has to try to project. And it can be really thrown off by just a difference of getting a payment on one month versus another. But I imagine Andrea may have been factoring in some consideration that there may have been unemployment or losses in capital gains or something like that that may have affected income taxes. I certainly would have no hesitation if you want to bump up the real property taxes. I think that's almost a given that you're going to hit the number that we had in FY 2021. Income taxes, I would just say maybe be a little bit more cautious.
Yeah,
just because so much of it doesn't come in until even after the fiscal year ends and then is accrued back.
Yeah, and we're below under pace from a year ago on November income taxes anyway. So I didn't really want to bother changing that one.
I think it's certainly something we could look at when we give you your January financials, because there should be a payment coming in that month, and we'll have a much better idea, I think, of comparing this fiscal year to the prior one at that time. I would just be cautious at this juncture.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. And by then we're going to be focused on FY23.
Right.
And I didn't mention any of that, but I'll try to remember this later during your town manager report, okay, to talk about retreat, but let's
Right.
not get off, I don't want to get off topic, so. Okay, so I think Jerry Lee has brought up a great point. How would you all like to proceed here before we make any motion?
Is it an option in that case to wait until January?
Well, this is sort of the mid-year adjustment. We could certainly wait. Let me play this through. If you wait for the council meeting in January, I don't know if we'll have anything by the beginning of January that might change what we're seeing. So I'm seeing Barbara's shake of head no. So then you're really too late, because by then you're looking at adjustments in, February or May, but we're already dealing with our FY23, which I think we will definitely want to take this into consideration about our projections for local income tax and local real property tax, as well as local income tax. As you know, we've had some modeling that we've been doing, but and as much as each year I've done it, we really haven't gone back and just kind of analyzed and brought that in as any real driver. And this time around, I'm open, and maybe, I don't know if Ken Schwartz is on or not, but Ken and I have talked over the last 2 months or so of, he and I worked on a financial task group back in 2012. He and Peter Benjamin and I, and we put together the initial budget structure for this town budget. And since then, once in a while I've talked with Ken, and between his OMB review experience, budget review experience, and my real hands-on as a CFO and in budget, I think we could come together on some ways to actually look at the analysis and modeling that I've been doing, and I think we might come up with some better numbers. So I look forward to that for FY23, and that would be next, February, give or take. So trying to change anything mid-year, it may be a little too late then to bring it into focus with the FY23, and I just think that's a lot to do. I like Jerry Lee's idea, so I'm in favor of doing it, but you all do make the decision.
And I don't hear any negatives or pitfalls we could fall into by following. I have no issue with Jerry Lee's either, but this council has a lot more experience than one person alone. So just putting it out there, asking if there is any negatives to the suggestion, which I don't, obviously.
So the decision is, how much do you want to adjust that line in the mid-year adjustment? How much do you want to adjust that for real property? And because you'll increase the revenue, you still need to hit net zero balance. You need to move some money, or I should say, you need to capture it on the operations and or on the capital side. So you have to decide how much you want to push it up, and then where do you want to place it on the operations and or the capital.
So one thought I have is that we put it in the contingency on capital, or we move up contingency. What I'm concerned with here is that we really haven't nailed down this whole thing about stormwater yet. And we may end up having to pay for some projects. So I just as soon have it easier to get to than not, if you will, if we have to use it for stormwater, that's all.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I could live with that. That gives us some flexibility under capital for use of the funding. That would be line item 33.
I'd be fine with that too. Just get it
So
to
can I
capital.
amend my proposal? My proposal, how about if I amend it to the more conservative, just the real estate property taxes, but bump it up to the 16,000 plus plus move 70,000 of the contingency from operating over to capital. So that would be a total of 86,000 moved.
okay, hold on. Let me catch up with you. So you're looking to adjust the real property taxes. You're looking
Up
to
by 16,000 as you
By-
suggested, Khaki.
okay, by 16,000. And then you want to take from the operations, you want to move
70,000 of the contingency. That was the 70,000 that had been carryover in the contingency line item
yes,
when we adopted it.
back for the carry. It was to match the carryover, the estimated carryover.
Right.
So now
And
you're
I feel
taking
like this is still
70,
pretty
yeah.
conservative when you consider that we had $400,000 in carryover from FY21.
Yeah, and this is what the auditor said. Everybody is flush because of COVID. It was, if the state can't even get, that's what they said to me, if the state can't even get it, and they have all the data in the world. That's what the auditor said. They have all the data in the world to really refine their projections, and they couldn't get it, nobody else could. But so we're not the only ones, not saying that that's good or bad, but at least we have that and not less. So Jerry Lee, stick with me here. You're taking 70,000 out of the 109. And moving that
Over to capital contingency
hold on a second.
and 16 from real property
Okay.
increase
Okay.
and moving and adding that to contingency.
Okay. I'm actually not there. I'm back.
Okay.
Our proposed change for the, amended at the time on the operations, our proposed change was a total of 102,680. Now with a proposed change of 16, we're going to be at 118,680, right? But you want to take 70,000 out of the contingency and move that as a capital, as a transfer. I'm going to have to, I don't know, I don't have my calculator, so I'm just, roughing this, and it's not the way to do this for the budget unless you want. We should postpone this till January so we get our numbers right. Anybody who's working the numbers with me, jump in, that'd be great.
Would it help to leave the contingency in operations as a round number? So you take the rest, like what if you left it at 40? So you take
40's kinda
69,
low. I think we need to,
well, taking out 70 gets you to 39. Or
yeah.
am I looking at the wrong number?
No, you're right, Stephen, but actually I didn't even go that far. So Jerry Lee, I guess I'm a little uncomfortable leaving it just at 40, given stuff that's going on. I don't know.
Is there a normal percentage of your, like for contingency and construction master plans we usually have a percentage number we'll keep. Is there a same thing for this kind of a thing where it's 5% or any
Well,
other number that contingency normally is?
SRTS was 10% if anybody remembers that, but
That's construction, not operating now. So
yeah, no, I know.
curious
It
if
was
there is one for
to
this.
cover the
a rule.
neat cost. No, I don't think we've ever followed that.
Yes, if I
Wait
may,
a
yeah,
minute.
oftentimes you have there's a number of different policies, and a lot of times it depends on how solid your revenue sources are. I've worked in places in Missouri where basically we had a 25% contingency because our primary revenue sources were very subject to economic fluctuations. I would say in Maryland, given how most localities are funded, you generally see unrestricted reserves of somewhere in the 10 to 20% range are generally the targets.
Okay, great. we've historically carried like 40 in this contingency line, but over the last couple of years, we've kind of beefed it up because we thought we were going to be doing a lot more things, and then COVID hit. We've kind of kept that philosophy. So
How about if we move 50,000 from it? That would leave an additional 20.
yeah, I like, it's up to the council. I like that idea.
I mean, in total contingency, we had what, like 160. So it's just a matter of moving contingency A to B, right? So it's
100.
109 plus 50, is it 57?
What?
So there's contingency in capital and there's contingency in operating.
Correct.
So like as a total percentage of our available funds, it's a higher
Yeah.
number.
But there's a difference, Stephen, with, with taking money from contingencies to the different budgets, and that, right now it's been, you can't take more than 1/2 of what's in the contingency to a major line item, and that's with approval. If for some reason we were short on one or the other capital or the operating, and we needed money from one or the other contingency line, you can't do that without an ordinance. And, so your point is a valid one, except that now you have to consider process. If you follow. Not to have to beat that to death, but. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm still catching up with you here, Jerry Lee. So.
So if we took 50 from the operating contingency, that would leave 59,235.
So we move not just. So we're moving not just the 300 now, 342,000, give or take change, but we're adding another. Is that right? We're adding another 59,235 because we're going to leave the 59,235, right? Yeah. So we're going to add the 50 to that transfer amount. Is anybody following me on this? Because so if you add the 50,000,
I am.
Okay, good. We're at.
Yeah.
It looks like we're at roughly 392,516, maybe. That would transfer over to the capital. You following down at the bottom of the operations page under transfers? We originally were transferring 326. I'll worry about the net zero later and the so forth, but we had 326 and 516 that was going over to the town account. We're adding 16,000 to that because that's where we're putting it. We're not putting any more money into the operations. In fact, besides the 16,000, we're now going to take 50,000 away from the 109. So add that 50 to what is now the original 326 plus the 16,000 from real property plus the 50,000 from contingency. And so my numbers come up to about 392,516.
That matches my math.
How about you, Barbara? Are you with us? Does that look right? You're muted. You're muted. Maybe that's a good thing. You don't have your calculator. No problem. I don't understand it. I mean, I don't blame you. I just have it on paper written.
I would agree.
No, I think I'm following, and I think the numbers you're quoting seem right.
It's just 26 and 66, right? So 92.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's go to the capital side of the budget for this mid-year correction and tell me where you want to put.
Proposal would be to add to line 33 a total of 66,000, which would then make the new total 123,051.
Okay,
Oh,
so
wait a minute. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right
what
thing.
line are you in?
Line 33 contingency under capital.
30, oh, how much are you putting in there?
66,000 total. That's the 50 plus the 16.
Okay, but then we have, okay, and so that comes to the 63, 73 in contingency, give or take. And what are you doing with the other 50,000?
I was proposing to put it all in contingency for maximum flexibility. Otherwise, I would propose town hall, but I'm comfortable if Phil prefers contingency, I'm comfortable with that.
I thought Phil was recommending some of that money go into stormwater.
It would be available in case we need it for stormwater. So the thought was that if we put it in contingency, then we can grab it if we need it. If not, at a later date, just transfer it back.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine. Just remember, not only is it under the storm drains where we have the money right now of $256,000. That's line item 28.2 under capital. Not to forget that if we're thinking that we may end up having to do more, we have the stormwater management planning, which is 32.2. Just remember that one for the
Right.
future. So you want to put
Just
in,
given the uncertainty of the responsibilities for stormwater, I'd rather put it under contingency, knowing that if we need it for stormwater, we could, but leaving it
Yeah.
stuck there if it turns out the responsibility is not there.
We're hoping to do it with ARPA, but if we can't, then that's a fallback. And I think Phil's point is good because we're going to be doing the main next year budget soon anyway, so we can always reshift it then. But
okay,
I'd rather be a little bit more accurate than the 400 and some overages we keep having.
So
we're
if we
probably
did
gonna
that, the
have
total would
covered.
then come to 123,051 for line 33.
Yes, that's what I got. Thank you. Right. Okay, and that increases our total capital budget to 1,772,724. Right. Okay. So the proposed change is to adjust the revenue of the mid-year budget on the real property line item by $16,000. We're going to increase it by 16. That's proposed. The second part of that proposal is to take that 16,000 plus 50,000 away from the contingency on the operations budget, which is line item 17.0. And we're going to move that 66,000 in total to the capital fund transfer. So we're increasing the capital fund transfer to 392,516. When we get over to the capital, we're going to just put all 66,000 into the line item 33.0 contingency to raise it up to $123,051. And that gives us a capital budget of $1,772,724. That is the proposal on the table. The way we can do this is you can adopt the mid-year adjustment, the mid-year budget with these proposed changes. And then we read the ordinance that includes a modification as well, because it reflects the ARPA fund account, a separate ledger. So.
Real quick question on that ARPA fund. Like you had 30,000 and 11 in there.
11.4.
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking about that being a totally separate book from everything else the town does, totally dedicated to ARPA. So what is the difference between that and the number Phil was asking about before that's in the operating budget?
It's in the operating budget on the capital fund. You'll see it on that page. Right now it sits at the top budget line item category of administrative.
I'm asking what's on the one that's on page, is it 3, 11.4 on like page 3? What's the difference between that 30,000 and the one that's in the ARPA budget? Was the 30,000 that's on page 3, that was our placeholder before, now you're going to be showing it in the ARPA? So it would go away from here, or is it, or is there a reason they're both there?
Yeah, the 30,000 was for the recruiting firm.
Oh, okay. All right. Got it.
And go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry, the other 30,000 was to pay a consultant for the ARPA.
And that's why we were taking it out of the ARPA fund.
So page 3 is the consultant for the hiring, and then the other one, page 6 is for ARPA. Got it. Thanks. So what do we need? You need
So
just to
Kathy,
know
are we
who's in
looking for a
support?
second on that proposal? Is that where we are in
I'm
this?
looking for the question. Who would like to ask? That's the formal.
All
Do the
right,
formal
so I
motion.
would like to make a
Cool.
motion
All right,
to
go for it.
adopt the resolution as amended per the way Kathy stated just now.
Do you mean resolution or ordinance?
It is a,
It'll be
It's an
the
ordinance.
it's
And
an
you're-
ordinance. Okay.
Okay.
I'll second that
I
motion.
move that we adopt
Yeah.
the ordinance as amended per what is stated in the draft ordinance with the ARPA adjustment and also the adjustment we just outlined
In the general fund.
in the general fund. Yes.
I'll
And
second.
Stephen
Yep.
second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I see Phil, I see Donna, Jerry Lee, and Stephen, you just raised
Yeah.
the motion and seconded it. So sounds like there's no abstentions and no nays. So everybody is in favor. This motion has been passed. Thank you very much.
Okay.
We got through it. Thank you. I'm just making a few notes. I'm sorry. Okay, great. 8:36. Maybe we're going to be able to move along here faster than we did last month, huh? Okay. Town updates. Stephen, do you have anything to speak of about the Historic Preservation Committee and the Town Hall?
Yeah, in the essence of time, I'll go pretty quick here. Historic preservation, a couple things are afoot. There's a HOP, a historic area work permit, being reviewed for a property on Montrose. Kind of an interesting case. It's some renovations on a Chevy house. Another iron in the fire is Penn Place railings. The restaurant wanted to get a railing around the main porch where there's dining. Our committee took a look at it, and we looked at it a couple different ways. For expediency, what we decided to go forward with is to ask to put wood railings on the larger porch that would match the ones that were on the smaller porch over to the right of Penn Place where the door of the restaurant is. Neither of those porches originally had railings, so neither of them's really like a historic echo, but for functional reasons, it's helpful to have those for now. And we heard that the county historic preservation staff is in support of that. They recommend that the commission approve it. We haven't gotten anything from our HPC yet in writing about that. Our understanding is that notification will go directly to the town office, so be on the lookout for that, please, Barb. There should be a similar one coming from Maryland Historic Trust because there's an easement, a historic preservation easement on that building. So they were reviewing that railing issue concurrently. We expect that they will be in agreement with county, but we should have 2 documents approving that. And once we get those, we can go ahead and put the railings on. So those are the major issues for historic preservation. And as far as town hall, I have RFP draft completed, and I put together a scope of work that I need to insert in there. But I farmed that out to some colleagues in the industry to kind of get some review and suggestions on that, especially on the cadence of like historic reviews and for like town presentations. In essence, what I'm pitching is a a couple of key milestones to have a presentation of the whole town to get feedback from everybody who wants to give feedback, and then how we can kind of work that into the design and keep things moving. So hope to get feedback back on that, those requests soon, and then be able to wrap it up and get the RFP out. So that's updates for all those.
And I imagine that you will be sharing that RFP with the town office and the council members, other council members.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I actually put it together with Debbie Sandlin. So, but need
Right.
to
She's not
just
with
to,
us anymore, right?
yeah, I figured. But I'll pull back those documents and kind of piece them together and get with you guys. So
Do you have a timeline for getting any feedback?
I expected to get it by now, but I'm going to send a reminder out to see if I can get it before the holiday. So
Okay, but or at least maybe we'll have something by January,
yeah, I think
and
so.
then you'll
Yeah.
be thinking about how you actually want to present this to the town once the council has opined on the documents as well, right?
Yeah, well, the
So
RFP
you're
would be
looking at
to,
maybe January to maybe give something up. I mean, after the council meeting, to give a town hall presentation or something.
possibly, but the major idea is to shift that to an architectural, like a historic architect consultant. They would have engineers on staff or no, on their team, and put together a more detailed plan with the cost estimates and more renderings and plans than I can really do as a part-time thing.
But
So
I think we'll need to see something as a council in town before we even go that far, because we obviously haven't seen anything. So
yeah,
we would
so
want to be able to see that and have you just give us highlights before
oh,
we
for
end up,
sure, yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll talk about the RFP with you all, then let it go out, then we'll have to select from the
Right.
respondents to that RFP
Okay, great.
on getting right firm. So
Okay, that's super. As far as the railing goes, who would install that?
I would
Do
assume
you have
our
thoughts
town
on
maintenance
that?
guys could install it.
Okay,
That's what they did
right.
with the other one. It's not a
Okay.
historically accurate. I mean, it's a
Okay.
tricky thing. There wasn't really a historic railing there that you could match, but the one that's there is not even really a historic looking one. It's just kind of a ordinary railing you would put on a new house now, but we could match that to make it quick and probably do a better one in
Yeah.
2022. So.
Okay. All right, great. Wow, that's great news, Stephen. Thank you.
Mhm.
Glad to hear on both fronts here.
Yeah.
Okay, Donna, it's 8:41. Do you want to talk about briefly how your task force is shaping up?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The task force is coming up roses to the point where I think, despite the fact that we sent it out, yesterday, and I managed to get my email wrong. Sorry about that, everyone. My apologies. I forgot the empty part. Goes to show, I think this place is the center of the universe, apparently. Regardless, we had actually a lot of responses, which I'm happy to say, even in such a short time frame. So I think because of that, we may have to end up just pulling a couple of names out of the hat, because everyone is super qualified, and I'm thrilled to hear that so many people are enthusiastic about joining the task force and getting this moving forward. There has been no movement from the federal side, from the Treasury side, in regards to any other rules being changed or modified. To date, I think everything just stopped at the end of July. So that was the final ruling on the answers to the questions during the question and answer period. So that has all been closed. In my research of other municipalities and towns on how they're dealing with it, it's various and sundry. But one aspect I would recommend and or be happy to undertake myself was to put a quick FAQ on our listserv as to what the funds are for, what they're not for, just for general information, and other links to federal agencies and websites as to what this what the funding can't do and has been able to accomplish in other places.
Great.
And that's
Maybe
about
you-
it.
Maybe working that out with your task force, you can come down, get to a point where you can get very succinct, ideas of, and response for FAQs. They can all help, and you draft up a list and put them out.
Mhm.
I have
Actually,
one
in
other.
my own research, I put up together a
Uh-huh.
list I'd like to share with
Great.
the council as well.
Okay, great. Definitely, that's super. I have one other point that Elizabeth Henley, the town assistant, mentioned to me today. I don't know if she got a chance to mention it to you, Donna, but apparently, there are people outside of Garrett Park who look at our website from time to time. And somebody was inquiring from Bethesda to see if they could be on this task force. And I want to be sure that you and everybody realizes this money is for the town. It's being
Yes.
given to the town, and it's town residents who will be on the task force. Nobody from the outside, unfortunately.
No,
Just
I
wanna make
thought
sure
I was
that's
pretty
clear.
specific in there. It
never know.
says Garrett Park Town citizens, town money, the whole 9 yards.
Right, but that didn't, that's on the forum. Oh, I guess that's posted on the website too, huh? The
It is now, yes.
request for the volunteers. Okay. Anyway, just to be good, just to be known. Glad to hear you're getting a lot of participation. Great.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Phil, I just reached out to, not to preempt you. I just heard from Jason Azar, but do you, about sidewalks, do you have anything to say about sidewalks?
I was going to let you go on that, but tell you what, before you do, let me just do an announcement, which is not necessarily involved with anything. So the pool will begin, the Swimming Pool Association will begin renovations on the bathhouse next week with demolition starting on certain portions of it as they go through to start redoing some things. So expect to see some work beginning over there. Also, there was one person who requested parking an RV over there in the town /swimming pool parking lot. It's not happened, and at this point, I would say I would appreciate if it doesn't happen, because the builders plus a handful of citizens are going to need that area. So you'll probably see some cones go up and some other stuff, and we'll hear a little bit of banging around as they pull down some old stuff and get prepared to start doing some new things. I will, since you have the latest from Jason, I will defer to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Phil. And this is going to be exciting about this renovation project for the swimming pool. That's great for the bathhouse. All I got was a one-liner from Jason that he expects to get some of the documents to us for the phase. Sidewalks are being broken into two projects, as you probably figured out. The first one is Oxford and Waverly. That's one project. Waverly, as it comes down from the Triangle, from Kenilworth down to Montrose. The second project is just the second short section of Waverly by the tennis court and heading to the Penn Place building. That involves a little more work. That's a second project. So the first project, he hopes to have those documents to us by the end of the week. So I'll send them out, and we're looking to, put them out for bid. That's the plan. By the way, he said the stormwater project at the end of the mitigation erosion project at the end of Rokeby was supposed to be done, but the contractors had not fulfilled the requirement of coconut matting and ground covering of like Pachysandra and stuff, ground cover planting. So they're supposed to do that this week, even though they were supposed to do it last week and of course other weeks. So here we are again this week. We're being told that they're going to get it done. Okay.
All construction.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't have anything for archives. I guess we should have taken that off because Mario, you're not on, are you? I don't see everybody in front of me here, but
Can I ask
I'm
a
guessing
quick
he's
question
not.
back to Phil? Is that right?
Yeah, go ahead, Stephen. Here.
Yeah, Phil, you'd mentioned like the bathhouse construction is going to start. There's a vehicle, and it sounded like they were going to use the parking lot for like some lay down. Did I mishear that?
Yes.
There's a vehicle parked on it. Is that going to get moved or?
Yes, they will be. Somebody's gonna get in contact. We know who the person is. It's a pickup truck there.
Yeah. I don't know why you put it there, Phil. Yeah, it'd be good. It probably could be in danger, and it's probably going to be in their way. So
The
it's be moved.
town office is perfect.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, but since you brought something up, I just have a quick question for you. I forgot. Is there going to be a demolition permit for the one for, I forget the address there on Strathmore, it's the yellow house that we have to stop work on, or what's happening with that?
It sounds like not a full town demolition because they don't plan to take the whole thing down. They plan to take a fair amount of it down. So it would be a county permit for renovation. And then they would need a town permit that would mainly be about setbacks. So they really just kind of like jumped the gun on that. I'm not sure if it's going to affect the setbacks or affect like the footprint, but it looked like it might. So they're going to need, even if it doesn't change it, they'll need that town permit just to show that it's the same. But they need to backtrack on those two things. But they're not going to. Their plan is not to take the whole house down. That would be the town demolition permit. So
Stephen, they haven't submitted even designs then yet, huh?
we got them. I think I got them from
Do the
Elizabeth.
Oh, okay. But they got that usually goes with the permit, right? And then it goes to the land. use
Yeah,
permit.
I only had like a 45-second look at it, so I wasn't sure if it got bigger or not. Like if it stretches out, then they'll have to like George and the committee, land use committee, will have to make sure that it still fits within the boundaries.
Okay, that's great.
Okay.
I was calling out to see whether Mario was around, but I kind of guess he's not. And I was thinking, Barbara, if maybe you saw him on a list of attendees here, but maybe not.
I have two questions or three questions, one from Elizabeth,
yes.
one from Mr. Willett, who is the owner of the house.
Okay, one
and then
second.
I also have one.
Okay. I just catching up.
Yeah, there's two messages in chat.
Okay, so he has a couple of questions about this issue. Thanks for bringing this to my attention, Donna, to me and Barbara. I had a couple questions about this issue as I am the owner of that house. So is it John Willett or Richard Willett?
Richard Willett.
Okay, Richard, go ahead. We don't usually do this, but go ahead.
Okay, I appreciate it. Sorry, I don't know how these meetings work. Elizabeth told me to join the meeting this evening. So it's my first renovation project in Garrett Park. When I called,
sorry, wait. We have someone named John Willett who lives in town. Can you tell us who you are, what your just city address is, or whatever you are, wherever you are?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Richard Willett. I live in DC.
Okay.
I'm a real estate agent in the DMV area, Maryland, DC, and Virginia. And also, it's my first renovation project.
And what's the house number that you're renovating here in town, in our town?
4507 Strathmore Avenue.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you can proceed now. We got you on record.
Thank you. Yeah, so I want to apologize first off because I didn't know that I needed to either get permits through the town of Garrett Park for demolition. But I'm trying to understand. I was talking with George. I forget what his last name is. Martin. Yes, George Martin. He emailed me today. As I spoke with Elizabeth last week when she gave me the stop work order, and I'd submitted plans and everything and then submitted permit or the application for the demolition permits. But I was trying to understand what I need to do in order to proceed forward with the rest of the demolition, as we're about 85% done at this point. And then, my architect will be submitting permits for, through the town of Garrett Park as well as Montgomery County for building permits, electrical, all that jazz. But yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to proceed forward so that I can finish the demolition once the permits go through. Be able to keep working.
Okay. Stephen Paskowski is our council member in liaison to the town's land use task force. So Stephen,
Okay.
if you could take just like a minute to give a high level, and then we're going to take this offline, and then you and Richard can discuss by email or phone or any other way you want to communicate. But we don't want to spend the time in this council meeting going through the detail, but please respond,
Okay.
Stephen, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, happy to connect later. via Elizabeth probably is the best way. But at a really high level, you need two different permits to work in Garrett Park. If you're just outside of it, you may have the same base zoning, but Garrett Park has a different zoning than the regular R90 zoning. So you have parallel permits that one goes to Montgomery County, they handle construction, they look at
Mhm.
zoning. We also look at zoning on top of it, like really the land use. So our setbacks are more constrained than the rest of town or the rest of the county or the rest of that zone. So our group within town will be looking at to make sure from a lot coverage and FAR and so on and so forth, that's all within the zoning envelope, and then the county's looking in parallel, and they'll come and do all your inspections for MEP and so on and so forth. So you really need both. It's ideal usually doing this to get the town one first to make sure you're in a good shape from the where you're building, and then the county handles how you build it. So.
Okay. If you can send me your email, if you don't mind, in the chat, so I can email you after the meeting.
Okay.
So I can ask some more questions. That'd be great.
Okay.
Okay, thanks,
Thank you.
Stephen, for taking care of that. Let's just jump to the last one with Jerry Lee on the Strathmore redevelopment of St. Angela Hall. I think we got some new dates, right?
Right. So the county has now rescheduled the two hearings related to the development for the local map amendment consideration. The first one is this Thursday at 9 a.m. And this is before the planning board. And it has the option of in-person or virtual participation. I will represent the town in person on Thursday, but I encourage residents who have opinions and want to make them known to individually sign up to testify and or submit written testimony. You don't have to attend if you submit written testimony, although on their website, they do note that they take more note of in-person testimony than just written submittals. So that's something to think about if you want to make your concerns or comments known about it. So there's the hearing on the 16th is the planning board. The planning board will then transmit with comments based on the hearing to the planning exam or the hearing examiner for the second hearing, which is scheduled for Monday, December 27th. What a great choice of dates. At 9:30 a.m. and that one is just virtual. And I sent it. Yeah, and Joanne Schmader did a great job of sending out notices on all the listservs. I sent a reminder out today just to encourage people to participate independently as well.
That's
Any
great.
questions?
I've asked Jerry Lee to testify on behalf of us. I'm out of town the week after Christmas Day. No surprise. And thankfully, Jerry Lee is still in town. So she will be speaking for me and for all of us. And even as I'm out, I'll probably be asking Jerry Lee to be acting mayor during that time as well. So that's what's happening. Okay.
Just quick
Any
question.
questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So Jerry Lee, will that be virtual at all for the meeting coming up shortly, or is it going to actually be in chamber?
One Thursday has both options, virtual and in person. The one on the 27th is virtual only.
Okay.
I'll send the link out again to the council members.
And we're coordinating this with the Citizens Association, President Kip Edwards and his group, right? Who is with Garrett Park Estates and White Flint Park. He's the president of Citizens
Right,
Association.
we've been exchanging information all along. I'm sure they'll be testifying as well.
Great, great. More the merrier.
Excuse me, I have a question actually back to Phil. And actually perhaps Stephen, I apologize. I had my hand up, but we kind of moved into this and it was just a quick, observation in regard to the renovations of the pool. Two questions, one, and more of an observation than a question really. When they do, if and when they do use that parking lot to make sure that it's visibly cordoned off. I know that there's a number of neighbors in the area who were concerned with kids or individuals wandering over there, even though they shouldn't be probably, but just making sure that they know that that's not a space for them to be, loitering, hanging out, or cutting through otherwise, just for their own safety and our town's well-being, I guess you could say. And then quick question regarding the pool renovations, although I have not, if there are plans, I have not seen them or looked for them, honestly, but I was wondering if there are any plans for interconnectivity or renovations or additions to either broadband or internet access, etc. And Phil, you're muted if someone's talking.
I'm sorry.
Published any plans in the post office.
Okay, they haven't.
We've sent information out to our members, and the permits came through from you guys. What else do we need?
Okay, no, that was it. Just whether or not there's plans available for people to look at. Okay. And internet wise, no, there's not going to be anything that I know is going to change with the internet per se.
Internet for the bathhouse?
Sorry, off-camera conversation with my wife.
Yeah, I get that. Wanted you to know we are listening in.
No, it's so as you've heard, basically there are some plans available there, but no, there's not going to be any changes to the internet and internet access. It should remain basically the same as it was last year.
Okay, I ask in light of thinking of ARPA and funding of broadband expansion in town, which is actually one of the available projects under that.
Interesting thought.
Okay.
And maybe we
Yeah.
discuss that later on.
Okay. Does that
Thank you.
conclude the
That's it.
questions? Okay. Actually, Barbara, as you make your town manager report, we want to add something on about the retreat. And
Okay.
I also have just sort of a comment to make to council and anybody listening about the post office. So I don't want to adjourn right after your town report. I just want to make one more comment. Actually, the two. One is with the budget as you give your update. So, okay, it is 9:01. Why don't you go ahead?
Okay.
Oh,
Included in your agenda packet was the monthly financial report for November. As I noted in my transmittal, overall revenues and operations and capital budgets are at the expected levels, so nothing alarming today. Since your last meeting in November, we have issued one building permit, which was last week, which was for a replacement driveway and walkway on Keswick Street. Town staff is continuing to work on a number of procurements, including the Penn Place painting, our copier printer lease, and the town hall concept drawings. Andrea and I did have a brief conversation with our consultant, and we should be getting some preliminary information by the end of January. Our FY21 audit is very close to being finalized. I'm working on one piece of that, and upon the audit being completed, we will be providing a state with a copy of the audit, as well as filing the uniform financial report, which are both requirements of state law. Our town maintenance staff has completed some stormwater flow improvements at Penn Place and the south end of Montrose Avenue, and they've also repaired a storm inlet box at the southeast corner of Montrose and Waverly. Last week, tree removal got underway at Town Hall. We'll be removing 5 hemlock trees. Once all the trees are removed, we will be installing new fencing, and that will basically be in the same location as the prior fencing. If you've been over there, you'll still see the post up. And lastly, I just want to encourage all our residents to basically stay informed by signing up for some of our website notifications and registering for the residents portal. You can do that by contacting support@garrettparkmd.gov, and that's a great way to kind of keep up to date with what's going on in the town. And I think, Mayor, you wanted to make some comments about the budget retreat?
That's right. Thanks. It may not be timely to do this right now, but at least to give you all something to be thinking about. We made a commitment to hold a budget retreat for FY23, and we had a timeline sketched out with the objective to have an adopted FY23 budget before the May elections. So at the last hour would be April town council meeting to be able to adopt. So, going backward from April to figure, an adoption and then an intro and also a retreat. You got your best guesses of when you would like to have this retreat. Would it be in January? And if so, we can set up a doodle poll, or I don't think December. I don't think this month is possible given what's going on with some of us. Personally, I'm not available. So I guess the earliest we might have a retreat is January. Maybe have some numbers out there kind of play with by February, with hopes that we could introduce March and final adoption in April, if not a month sooner. But just trying to think through like that. Any ideas from anybody? Is January okay, or would you rather have a retreat in February? And have an intro in March, still do an intro in March. So that's why I'm just trying to get you all to think through this.
In mid to late January would be my preference.
I second what Phil was saying.
Sounds fun to me too.
Toward the end of January would be best, probably.
Okay, are you best?
I'm fine with that.
You best with evenings, or would you prefer a Saturday or a Sunday daytime?
Evenings are great. With the
usually
weekends, just fair warning, please.
What'd you say?
I said if it isn't on the weekends, just fair warning so I can arrange around it.
Okay, we've done it both, I think, or maybe we've done it on Saturdays. Does anybody remember? I know we've done it at least once on Saturday. So I'm just putting that out for doodle poll options.
Yeah.
If anybody absolutely doesn't want to do like a Saturday, then we wouldn't include it in the doodle poll.
Kind of prefer
No
the
problem, like I
evening,
said.
but yeah, I can be open to the Saturday if everybody else needs it.
Okay, well, we got some, days to play with, and we'll get something out to you. Okay, thanks. The one other thing I wanted to make mention of is the town post office. And while some of you may be aware that our post office, the post office staff has been reduced now to just Tiffany, who is the post mistress. Her support staff have left, and she has confided in a few people around town, and including me, that she's not aware that she's going to get any additional help. And I don't know for how long this status may be, or if it's forever or not, but her concern, of course, and all of us are about what's happening over the holidays when that post office gets really packed. So it might be it might be helpful for everybody who's got something to say about this to try to reach out to whoever is at the post office headquarters. I don't have a name. I'm going to work with Barbara and Elizabeth to see if we have a contact, so I could make a personal plea for the town. But this is one of those cases, again, of grassroots effort rising to say, hey, our post office in our town, can't survive with just one person working behind the counter. So just consider it. If you have time, if we find out who that point of contact is, we'll be happy to share it. If you have your own leads or your own way to communicate into that, Goliath entity, go for it.
That's crazy. Like, seriously, right? Like, now that makes no sense.
It's all. I'm only relaying what I was told. So
wow,
that was last week I was told this. So
In the past, when we had some issues with the post office that we couldn't get resolved, I'm not gonna go into what they were, we ended up going through Senator Van Hollen's office, who basically was able to pull in some high-ranking people from the post office. And we had a face-to-face meeting in Van Hollen's office.
Wow, really?
With
Okay.
the staff to discuss the issue and get a few things straightened out. And I would strongly suggest that we consider writing, as a mayor, that you consider writing a letter or something to him to ask if he couldn't assist with maybe getting some people together. Because it worked out great when we did it the last time.
Okay, I may tap your brain and memory on that a little later. Phil, thank you. I'll look into that too. Okay, if there's no other questions from council, and I'm looking across the video, I see head shaking no. It is, oh, I'm sorry. It's 9:09 and this meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a great holiday. Stay safe.
Same to you. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Happy holidays.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.